call us to order at 5:02. Welcome everyone, both in the audience and those who are maybe joining us on the Zoom.
Mike, you might want to hit your...
Oh, thank you.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Vallecitos Water District on Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. General Manager Prune, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Love to. Thank you. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Prune. We'll go ahead and do a roll call for our attendance. If all the board members could please press their button. I'm the only one that's not working. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. I already fell. That's what happens after a year and a half plus, right, of being away. So all the directors are in attendance this evening. Thank you. We do not have any emergency items for the agenda this evening, so we'll carry on.
President Simonella, can I, just for the record, I want to note that the board adjourned out of its closed session at 4:58, and that we will resume closed session at the end of this meeting, just for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Gilpin. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Boyd Hodgson and a second by Director Elitharth to approve tonight's agenda. Go ahead, and if we can have our roll call vote. Item come up, thank you. Okay, the motion passes unanimously, thank you. We have, we're at the time where it is public comment. Persons wishing to address a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. However, no action will be taken until the matter is placed on a future agenda in accordance with board policy. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. A request to speak form is required to be submitted to the Executive Secretary, Jonathan in this case, prior to the start of the meeting, if possible. Public comment should start by stating name, address, and topic, and the board is not permitted at this time to enter into dialogue with the speaker. I do not have any speaker requests currently for public comment, but if one does come, then we'll try to accommodate. Okay, we'll move on to presentation.
Point of order, Mr. President. If, just because this is the first time we've met in person, a member of the public comes in and they fill out a request to speak, that's not the same thing as public comment. That's a different.
Yeah, so on the little form they fill out, they'll put the agenda item. So this is specifically
Gotcha.
2.1.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Is that public comment?
So if it is not a matter on the agenda, it is public comment, but if it is a matter on the agenda, it is considered speaking at a different time. Thank you.
Okay, so I might need to get some assistance from either our legal counsel or our GM. The agenda item is district policies. That's not an agendized item tonight. And so, Tracy, you're more than welcome to speak on any item that you would like to at this time, but we can't really engage back and forth with you on that because it's not agendized for district policies. But you're welcome to come on up if you'd like to speak to us.
Actually, she's coming in just a second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so then when Tracy does arrive, then we will certainly try to accommodate her to come up for 3 minutes. Okay, we'll move on to presentations. I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Prune.
Thank you, President Simonella. So the board may remember at the October 20th board meeting, the directors recognized the 14 employees who had reached a milestone in their service career here at Vallecitos. Remember, those 14 employees had a total of 190 years of experience with Vallecitos, so that's a pretty big number. We played a video that was created by our public outreach team to recognize their anniversaries, but we had some technical difficulties, you may remember. So we think we fixed that, and I'd like to play the video again so that the board can see the full video this time. So,
Thank you.
see if I can get that done here.
passed along all of our kudos and thankfulness to.
I did, and,
After last meeting?
and thank you again for indulging us to allow us to play it again. I do appreciate it. And you may have seen Ann Lopez, she was our 30-year recipient this year. So that's 30 years, that's a long time. So
Amen.
30 more years and she'll really have it down pat.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we'll go on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are expected to be routine and non-controversial, that's new language, to be acted upon by the board by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or member of the public requests that a particular item be removed from the consent calendar, in which case it will be considered separately under action items. Any discussion on any of the consent calendar items, or is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar by Director Pinnick and a second by Director Hernandez. And if we can bring up our voting panel, we'll cast our votes.
For your information.
Yes.
So I just noticed what also seems like new language is that a person in the public could pull something, or suggest that something can be pulled from the consent calendar. When do they have that opportunity? Is it after the motion and the second, and then there's a discussion? Or when, I'm just curious, I've never noticed that before. Maybe it's not new, but I've just never noticed it before.
It's not new, but it's a good question because is it just that any time they raise their hand or would they fill out a speaker slip for item 1.4 or something along those lines?
Presumably, it'd be when they submit a speaker slip that they want to speak on item, what would it be?
Either 1.1 through
1.1, and so you would pull that item for discussion. Because the point of the consent is they're non-controversial, nobody's got anything to add, you just want to vote on them. And if a member has some comment on it, they would submit a speaker slip, and you would note the comment at that
I do
time.
remember
Thank you.
that. That's a good question, Director Boyd Hodgson. I do remember that's happened a couple of times over the years. Okay, so if everybody can cast their votes, am I the only one you're waiting for? There we go. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. On to item 1. Oh, no, let me fast forward here. Catch up on my paperwork.
I didn't hear you, but
I'm sorry, we're moving on to item 2.1, the strategic plan. And I'll have staff go ahead and kick us off, and then we'll bring our speakers up after that.
Jonathan, can you help me get it so it's in the right mode here? Not that one. Okay, thank you. All good? All right, thank you, President Sanella. So the item before the board is consideration of adopting the strategic plan 2022. The board will recall that we recently went through a strategic plan workshop process. We solicited a lot of input from the board members and from staff, held 2 days of workshops, and staff has been working to incorporate the comments that we received from the board members at the final workshop, which is a couple of weeks ago. Let's see. Having trouble here. All right, so the strategic plan that we currently have is called 2012. It was done back in 2012, and it was a joint effort between staff and the board of directors at the time. But only one current member of the board of directors was on the board at that time, and that was Director Hernandez here. So everybody else is new since that time. So realizing that it's been a while, we figured it was time to get together and share ideas. Maybe I'll go over, highlight the strategic plan 2012, and then we won't talk much about the old or existing strategic plan. We'll focus on the new one. So the strategic plan 2012 had 6 strategic focus areas, and these are just general areas that we would like to focus on. And there's a lot of supporting documents that go with it, but the strategic focus areas were infrastructure integrity, internal communication, continuous improvement with workforce development, fiscal responsibility, public education and outreach, and resource exploration. So we have new directors, 4 out of 5 are brand-new directors, and it's time for a new plan. This is a picture that we took somewhat recently to find, I think, the first photo with all the 5 new board members together. Okay, and this is a picture that we took at the retreat, or the workshops that were taking place at the city of San Marcos. So the mission statement in the Strategic Plan 2022 was changed slightly based on feedback from the directors. So we modified it by changing the word exceptional to the word reliable. So the mission statement in Strategic Plan 2022 reads, "The water and wastewater specialists providing reliable and sustainable services." We did capture comments from the board regarding the vision statement. So, and we do have a vision statement now, and this is included. This is something the board has not seen, so this is somewhat new, so we'd like some feedback. And the vision statement is to be a best-in-class utility of the One Water resource. And as the board members will remember, One Water is kind of the industry term for water reuse. So the industry is going in a direction where we're not differentiating between where the water came from, it's all one water. So whether it's from recycled water, direct potable reuse, it could all be a drinking water source. So we did have several values that were listed in the in 2012 strategic plan, and they carried forward to the 2022 strategic plan, the proposed. So that's integrity, loyalty, respect, responsibility, trust, and professionalism. So we'll talk about the strategic focus areas. So same term of art, it's strategic focus areas. And again, we have 6 in the proposed strategic plan. But Strategic Plan 2022, they retain 3 of the strategic focus areas from the 2012 with slight modifications. One strategic focus area, internal communications, was actually removed. It was included in a broader strategic focus area, which is called, the new one's called Workforce Excellence. Other key changes include strategic focus areas 2 and 3 being retitled and reorganized to separate the organizational strategies from the workforce strategies. Strategic focus area 6 was retitled. It used to be called resource exploration in the 2012 strategic plan, and we changed it to environmental stewardship. And that's intended to indicate the broader responsibilities that Vallecitos has to the environment, and it isn't just about resource exploration. And we'll go into each of these in more detail. And other new strategies, and strategies are kind of subheadings below the strategic focus areas. So we included operations and maintenance in strategic focus area 1, and employee engagement and employee recruitment and retention for the retitled strategic focus area number 3. So you can see right here, here's the list of the 6 proposed strategic focus areas: infrastructure integrity, organizational improvement efficiency, workforce excellence, fiscal responsibility, public information and outreach, and environmental stewardship. And I'll go through each one of those pretty quickly. So strategic focus area 1 is infrastructure integrity, and the focus of this strategic focus area is to ensure reliable facilities and infrastructure. And there are 3 supporting strategies underneath strategic focus area number 1. The first is titled strategy number 1.1, and it's about operation and maintenance. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and read all the wording. You can read the wording. The board, it's included in the board packet. The board was provided with this information beforehand. The same general language was presented and discussed by the board at the workshops. Not much has changed here, a few minor corrections here and there. But so strategy 1.1 of strategic focus area 1 is operation and maintenance. Strategy 1.2 is asset management and replacement. And the final strategy 1.3 is facility planning. So those 3 comprise strategic focus area 1. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about the tactical plan, but each of these strategies will have a bunch of tactical initiatives associated with them, which explains how we're going to accomplish these strategies that are supporting the strategic focus areas. So strategic focus area 2 is organizational improvement efficiency, and the focus of this strategic focus area is to increase organizational effectiveness and customer service excellence. And it also has 3 strategies. So strategy 2.1 is technology. Obviously, we want to use technology to improve the organization and become more efficient. Strategy 2.2 is continuous improvement. I think we're really a good organization now, and we always strive to become better. And strategy 2.3 is performance measurement. We do a really good job of collecting data here, but we need to do a better job of looking at the data and measuring how well we're doing things. So those are the 3 strategies under strategic focus area 2. Strategic focus area 3 is titled Workforce Excellence, and the focus of this strategic focus area is to attract and retain a well-trained, diverse, and inclusive workforce. And the strategies under strategic focus area 3 include 3.1, which is employee engagement. Certainly we want to make sure our employees are engaged in their employment here. Strategy 3.2 is employee recruitment and retention. We want to get the best and the brightest on board, and we want to keep them on board. Strategy 3.3 is employee training and development. We don't want any employees to remain static. We always want them to get better at what they do for the period of or course of their employment here at Vallecitos. So the 4th strategic focus area in Strategic Plan 2022 is fiscal responsibility. And the focus here is to ensure fiscal health and fair utility rates. And the supporting strategies under strategic focus area number 4 are 4.1, which is fiscal management. 4.2 is to make sure we have operating and capital facility reserve funding. Strategy 4.3, customer rates and charges. We want to make sure they're fair. And that's it. Those are the 3 supporting strategies for fiscal responsibility. Strategic focus area 5 is public information and outreach. I'm sorry, let me go back. The focus of strategic focus area 5 is to actively engage our customer base to promote Vallecitos Water District. And the supporting strategies here are customer outreach, school outreach, which we're differentiating from just general public outreach. Water use efficiency, we used to call this conservation, but we want it to be a bit broader. It's not just using less water, it's using water wisely. And then the last strategy, supporting strategy for strategic focus area 5 is public-private partnerships. I think we're stronger when we work more closely with other organizations. And the last strategic focus area proposed in Strategic Plan 2022 is environmental stewardship. And this is the one that the board will see the most change in from what it used to be. And the focus here is to contribute to resource sustainability and environmental stewardship. And there are 4 strategies that support strategic focus area number 6. The first one is water resources. We want to make sure we work on identifying where the water comes from. What water resources will we use to satisfy the demands from our customers? Strategy 6.2 is water supply management. How do we manage the water that we do get? So regardless of the supply, how are we managing it? Whether it's regulatory compliance or just managing things through the documents that we have to prepare, it's an important aspect of what we do. Strategy 6.3 is renewable resources. We're a large consumer of a lot of products here, and we want to make sure that we're doing things responsibly. So renewable resources could be anything from not using plastic water bottles all the way through making sure we don't just rely on fossil fuel generation. We can use solar, for example. That would be something that would support this strategy. And the last strategy under strategic focus area number 6 is natural environment protection. We own a lot of land here at Vallecitos, and for example, a lot of our sewers run through environmentally sensitive habitats and along creeks. We need to make sure we're doing the best that we can to protect the natural environment. So those are the 6 strategic focus areas, and at the end I'm going to be asking the board, are you comfortable with the strategic plan that's presented, and do you want to adopt it, or is there feedback you want to provide, and staff can incorporate that feedback and either bring it back to the board to check in, or we'll, if the board's comfortable, just delegate the authority, and as long as we address all the issues that are raised, we can adopt the strategic plan tonight with the comments provided by the directors. I talked a little bit about the tactical plan. This is really important. The strategic plan, by its very nature, is supposed to be high level. It's supposed to be very broad, all-encompassing. In between the 6 strategic focus areas, it should cover just about everything we do. The strategies give you a little bit more definition about what you're trying to accomplish, but it's really the tactical plan which details the how. How are we going to get all of these things done? So we're not asking the board to approve the tactical plan tonight. That's a document that I'm working on with staff as we speak. We've already kicked it off. We're starting the process of developing what we call our tactical plan initiatives. And when that's done, we will bring that document forward to the board for approval. So when all is said and done, the board will have an approved strategic plan and an accompanying tactical plan. And between the 2 documents, it'll kind of lay out the blueprint for the future going forward. I'm guessing that'll be around the end of the calendar year, so December, it may go into January by the time we get the tactical plan initiatives compiled, collated, make sense of it, put some resource numbers to them, and have the board approve them. Because the resource is an important thing. The strategic plan is kind of a dream. It's a wish list, but when you see the tactical plan, you realize all of these things take time, money, and people. So before the board approves the tactical plan, we want to make sure we do some at least preliminary analysis to let the board know what they're saying yes to. So again, the strategic plan could be adopted or approved as early as tonight, and the tactical plan probably around the beginning of the next year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the board to see if you have any thoughts. This is a picture of the cover, and again, it was included in your board packet. We're calling it Plan for the Future, not Plan of the Future, but it's a plan for the future. And it's our 2022 strategic plan, and with that, I'd love to hear feedback from the board.
Thank you, General Manager Prum. I'll open it up to any comments, questions from my colleagues.
Just one on the thank you, that was awesome. I understand the relationship between the strategic plan and the tactical plan. Does the tactical plan actually have hard numbers? We're talking hard numbers as far as dollars, cents,
Yeah, they'll
acres?
probably be broad estimates, and as we go through each subsequent budget year, we'll be budgeting for the tactical plan elements. Now, clearly, if the board approves the tactical plan, and then during a budget cycle, they get sticker shock, for example, they may choose to not move forward with that tactical plan element. Approving the tactical plan doesn't lock us into anything, but it is setting a roadmap. So when we come forward in subsequent budget cycles, we'll tie it to. We'll say, hey, this is what's needed for that tactical plan element. And it won't be until they're funded that they're really real projects.
Okay.
The first tactical plan you see is going to be a 6-month tactical plan from basically January 1 through June 30th. And we're doing that so we can align our tactical plan with our budget cycle. So everything will be on a fiscal year after the first 6 months. So, and we're hoping that the first 6 months will be items that we can perform within our already approved budget with our people that we have and the money that we have. And then as we go to next year's budget cycles, you'll start to see actual dollars that are being put in the budget.
Do we have a tactical plan now?
We have, yes, we have, I think it's called the business plan, and there is an existing one, and it's got, I think, 150 items in there.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, how big is it? I mean, it'd be nice to have a tactical plan that you can read.
Yeah.
You know, it's not 200 pages, I mean,
Yeah,
something that,
and we'll try to-
both for board as well as the public.
Yeah, and we'll try to get that to you, so it's something simple and easy to digest, and maybe there's additional information if
Yeah.
anybody wants to dig deeper into them.
That's what I would like is, yeah, it'd be awesome. Okay.
And I should have pointed out, the tactical plan, we're gonna have annual tactical plans for every year within the strategic plan, which is really gonna cover us from 2022 for at least 5 years, maybe as long as 7 years. And every year we'll come forward with a revised tactical plan of what we hope to accomplish in that particular fiscal year.
Thank you.
Director Boyd Hyson?
Thank you. I was trying to get my red light to flash. That's what I was trying to work through. Thank you. Great work on this, and having sat through the strategic planning process, I know that we all put a lot of effort into the thinking behind this, and great work, General Manager Prum, to your team for putting it down on paper. I did notice in the the strategic focus area 6 called environmental stewardship, that there's no acknowledgement of climate change. And I feel like that is something that's really important that we should acknowledge. So I'd like to make a couple of recommendations. On 6.1, under water resources, water availability, comma, and climate change are some of the largest threats. So I'd like to add the word I'd like to add climate change to the first sentence of 6.1. And in 6.2, the second sentence, drought, comma, and climate change and other water shortage issues, etc. I'd like to add climate change to our strategic plan. I think that in 2021 and 2022, this problem is not going away. We are a water agency, and it's very, very important that we acknowledge climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? With regards to the Director Boyd Hodgson's request, if you're looking for consensus,
That'd be helpful.
I'm supportive, so there's two. Sounds like there's all of us.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We'll add that. And that's a good example. If the board may want to say, we approve it with the changes mentioned at the board meeting. And then we'll just go ahead and make the changes, and it'll be the final document incorporating the changes.
I had one question. During our strategic planning sessions, we had a conversation about the term "one water." And I seem to recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, that while we liked it initially, there was a little bit of hesitation as well. And so I'm kind of curious how it got back in there. Did we decide to put it back in there? But I'm forgetting, or?
Yeah. No,
General Manager Prim, would you like me to take this one?
Sure, Mr. Robbins. That's Chris Robbins there, yeah.
So I was watching the action and paying real close attention. And specifically, I think the thought process was, hey, we really didn't want to change the mission statement to say one water. And so we kept the mission statement and made that one word change from exceptional to reliable. But we did hear a lot about the term one water, and it just seemed to be the place to put it, was to put it in the vision statement as more of our vision for the future versus the actual mission of what we do every day. And that was sort of the thought process behind that. And if it's acceptable, it's acceptable, but if not, that's okay as well.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the explanation. Is the true definition of one water as it's being used today, it's really associated with the recycled water component, but does it also capture, imported water, desalinated water? Does it capture everything?
Yeah, and
It's not just recycled water,
Right, in its broadest sense, yes. It's saying, hey, all the water on earth is one water. It all started as water, and it may have taken different paths to get to your tap, but it's one water.
Okay.
So whether it's desal or direct potable reuse or groundwater, it's all one water. But the focus recently has been about incorporating the direct potable reuse in the treatment of other streams into the drinking water supply. But it is all inclusive.
Okay, thank you. Director Boyd Hodgson?
If we do go forward with having the one water, I'd like to revisit the vision statement. I'm feeling like there's a word missing, or just the language of it. To be the best in class utility for one water makes more sense to me than of the one water resource. So I'll just make that suggestion, but I'm not sure if we're going with one water. But if we are, I think we should noodle the vision statement a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think my recommendation, 1 of 5, is going to be maybe take this one back. I'm open-minded to the one water being in there. I'm not totally against that, but can we take another stab at it? Just the whole vision statement?
Sure.
And maybe if we end up doing that, that's what the board wants to ask staff to do on this particular item, just to maybe take another shot at it and bring something back. Certainly, if appropriate, the board members, if they have any ideas, they could either speak them now, but if they're driving home tonight and they're like, oh, I just came up with a good vision statement, maybe they could just email you.
Yeah, just email, and I'll try to make sense of all of them.
Okay. Any other Comments, questions? Director Alazar?
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. I think it's a great strategic plan. And I think the modifications to the 2012 plan were appropriate. I think the main problem with the 2012 plan was that it was put on the shelf, and after a while it was never monitored and brought back to see how we were performing on it. So I think the most important lesson here is to make it a living document and to keep coming back and reporting on its progress.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well, all things considered, it sounds like the board likes 99% of it, which is great, right?
That's
I do have one speaker on the item that I'd like to call up at this time. Gail Martin. You can please come up here, and similar to the Zoom meetings, you have 3 minutes.
I'm Gail Martin. Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's much better. I know I'm short. I'm Gail Martin. Good evening, board members. Regarding the strategic plan, you say that growth pays for growth. So why did you transfer $10.1 million in ratepayer money to pay for the developer obligations? Why are you showing $15.2 million in debt proceeds and reserves when you haven't drawn anywhere near that amount? You can't get that money until you pay for the capital improvements being financed. One of your organizational values is integrity. Presenting false and misleading information at the Finance Committee meeting on your reserve policy is not integrity. You identify national environment protection as a new strategy. Who will pay for that? Developers still have a deficit balance. You falsely reported debt proceeds and transferred $10.1 million of our ratepayer money to developer funds. You are a sole purpose district. You are only to use our money to pay for the cost of water and sewer service, but more than 14.5% of our water bill is subsidizing development. Now you also want us to pay for national environment protection. This is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. General Manager Prum, there was a lot of pretty serious accusations in those comments. I don't believe them to be true, but if they are, I would definitely be interested to know if they are. Can you, I know that you weren't prepared for that specific comment, but given the seriousness of the accusations, I think we should maybe have a few minutes of discussion about it.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to maybe sit down with Ms. Martin and find out what misleading information was provided at the Finance Committee meeting. It's hard for me to comment when I don't know exactly what's being referred to. I don't believe the district's done anything inappropriate. There was always an accounting of money that was used by the ratepayer funds to cover a shortfall on the developer side. It will all be paid back with interest. Just like we take ratepayer money and we invest it in other investments, right? And we get returns on those investments. We've done the same thing on the developer side. So all the money that, there's no money that's being stolen from the ratepayers. Never has been and there never will be.
Okay. Would that be something, Ms. Martin, that you'd be open to, is meeting with our senior staff to have some of your questions clarified or answered?
If I can bring my advisor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is it Tracy?
Yes.
Is this the item that you wanted to speak on?
Well, it sort of is. What I wanted to request a special agenda item. So possibly she could meet and bring the information that she has. The information I have is somewhat similar that I've been hearing. At least 20 people have asked me to come and just ask for this to be put on the agenda so that they can come and hear the explanation. So whatever is resolved, it would be really good to have an open agenda for these people to come and to ask any particular questions that they have. So yes, this is a ditto, but I've heard it, paraphrased differently. So a lot of people are asking this question. So people have been like Googling looking at old meetings, the old Zoom meetings, and then they have questions. So can this be brought to the agenda for next month?
I don't know if it can be brought for next month, and just to give you some background, we've agendized this item 4 or 5 times in the last 12 months, maybe, or the last 18 months.
And did you have any representation of the community here when you did?
Well, they were certainly welcome to come, just as you are tonight.
Oh, I know, but I will tell you honestly, I tried to Zoom in, and I think I'm pretty savvy, and you didn't know I was there. Fast meetings, and I've heard this from other people, and some people are savvy, aren't savvy. I'm pretty savvy, I do a lot of Zooming, and you didn't see me. So, I don't know why, but so that's why I'm so grateful. Thank you for the in-person meetings, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
So,
And I know that you weren't here for the public comment. Did you want to speak on that once we wrap up this item? Or is that what you were asking for?
Yes, and I want to thank you for being open to discuss it and find out what the information is that we have out in the public, because we want to feel good about our board. You're doing all this wonderful work for us, and we don't want any thoughts that there's anything being shifted around, but we do have concerns that a developer would have debt forgiven on any level. So I guess that needs to be addressed. Have we ever forgiven developer debt?
Hey, Tracy, could I, just so we're meeting, can I have you come up so the public can hear your question?
Sure, so I guess what I'm asking for is like that comfort level, and I appreciate tonight you're talking so openly. I know you didn't have to respond to Gal, and I appreciate that. So the question is, this would be something that I would like discussed as well. Have you ever forgiven any developer debt for infrastructure, for putting the water into the development? Has that ever happened?
Not to my knowledge. That's a very broad statement. Has there been a time where a developer came in and asked for a waiver of fees? I don't know.
Well, what's a waiver? Is it a postponement or a dissolve?
No, as far as I'm aware, they've never dissolved or wiped away the requirement to pay their cap fee, their capacity fee. There was a board action taken to allow them to defer their payment of cap fees until the impact of their project was actually impacting the system. And the board approved that, and I don't remember the time frame, but it was 7 years ago or so. But it didn't wipe out the obligation of the developer.
It just changed the time frame. So capacity impact fees are just that. They're to offset the impact to the capacity of our system. And the board at that time, 7 years ago, allowed the developers to pay those fees at the time that they actually start impacting our system. Much like a regular water customer like you and I, we don't prepay our bill. We use the water and sewer through the course of the month, and then we get a bill. So it's very similar to that, but they paid 100% of their fees.
Okay, and that would include, so this is where I wasn't sure, does Vallecitos put any of the plumbing in, the main pipes going into the development before it gets distributed inside?
President Sinella, we're probably going too far in this conversation without it being an agendized item. So if the board would like, we can put it on the agenda. It's pretty broad allegation, so I'm not exactly sure how to agendize it other than to prepare a basic staff report and allow the public an opportunity. But then staff would be trying to respond in real time to things, which is always difficult.
Yeah.
If the speakers would like to submit information beforehand, so that we may have a better idea of what issues they may be raising at the meeting, that would make it a more productive meeting. Because it's not fair to expect staff to respond on the fly.
And I agree, and I don't want to break any rules or laws, so I understand that we need to wrap this one up. But I am concerned if there is this, what I believe to be a misperception out there, but perception's reality, like you said, Tracy, that there's some buzz out there that maybe there's something not necessarily up and up. I'd like to put that to rest and reassure our customers that might have those concerns that is indeed not the fact. As far as I'm aware of, if I learn something new through this process that I didn't know, and to the contrary, we'll take swift action to correct it. But over the last 18, maybe 24 months, we've had a handful of meetings on this very item. And not once during those meetings has it come up. And we've had our former Assistant General Manager, Tom Scaglione, you asked me earlier if anybody from the public had come up. He came up and spoke to us as part of those. I know this is a kind of an item or an issue for him. And so we've heard from him, we've heard his point of views. He's submitted countless numbers of emails to our staff that they've responded to. They may not necessarily always agree with each other, but that doesn't mean that there's wrongdoing being done, right? That just because the two can't come to some sort of agreement as to what's going on. But I'd like to suggest that maybe we have a public workshop, and we can sit down and anybody who wants to come, and who may have those concerns or those perceptions, they can participate in a workshop, which I think is a little bit more informational versus like a board meeting like this. So that might, if my colleagues are agreeable, I think something like that. But I feel like didn't we do a workshop on this probably about 12 months ago?
But 12 months ago, everybody was hunkered down and really not paying attention. Seriously, everybody was in a state of fear.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have been worried about what's going on with the water district. They really wouldn't. But I want to tell you how impressed I am that you want to meet this head on. And I love your idea about the workshop. I think it's a wonderful way to tell the community, we're with you. Let us show you everything that we have. We want to put this to rest. We want your comfort level high. I appreciate that so much. That's impressive. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
How would you notify us? That's the question.
Would you like to take that one?
So we typically would post a notice. If the board had a workshop, it would be a publicly noticed meeting, just like a board meeting, like tonight's meeting is publicly noticed. We don't reach out to specific people typically.
No, but where do we look to find these
Yeah.
public notices?
So the board website is the best place. There's a page on the board website that shows the upcoming meetings, gives information when there's a packet, like staff reports, it'll all be in there. And I can offer, if there's a point of contact amongst the people in attendance today that you would like me to reach out to, I can reach out to that person, let them know when the workshop is going to be, and then trust that that person would distribute the information, if that's helpful.
That would be
So,
phenomenal.
Tracy, if it'll be you, please provide me.
Yes, you could actually, I don't know Gail, so she probably has other people that send her. So you could give it to both of us. That way we can reach more people who are concerned.
And you have Tracy's
Yep,
address and phone
Okay.
number.
But I need to give you my email.
Okay, if you could do that, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
that would be phenomenal. I would love nothing more than to have the whole room packed to the extent that it's safe to do so,
Yeah.
just to go ahead and correct the record once and for all.
Absolutely. And thank you again. I really am impressed.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful that you're doing that.
Thank you for
So I'll
coming.
motion that we,
I think it's just kind of overall direction that
Yep.
we're going to do a workshop. It's probably not going to be next month, to be honest, with the holidays and everything that's going on, and plus some of the things that we already have in process. But Q1 of next year, I think would be a good time to, a good window within January, February, March timeframe. Probably
Yeah.
more like, wouldn't go past February.
No, we could probably, January, late January, probably be good. I assume the board would want that as a separate meeting, not part of, it's
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah,
workshop, not on
let's-
the same day, not as a regular
Yes.
board meeting. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so back to the strategic plan. I think we had some good consensus. It seemed like everybody was agreeable to staff's
Yep.
presentation.
Yes.
Other than the vision statement, we're going to have you take another shot at that one.
And we're going to be adding some comments pertaining to climate change.
Yes,
So
correct. Thank you.
We'll incorporate those. Give me your thoughts. If you have any thoughts on vision statements, don't communicate with each other, just send them directly to me. And then we'll come back at a subsequent meeting with some maybe recommendations, maybe some alternatives, and the board can hopefully select one, and then we can wrap up the strategic plan. And that'll show the revised language, including the climate change comments as well.
do you need for me to write out the suggested language?
It certainly would be helpful.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, thank you.
And before we move on from item 2.1, I did want to identify that I noticed that there is somebody with their hand up on the Zoom, but we do not currently have the capability for them to speak. Is that correct? Through the Zoom? The Zoom is more of an add-on.
Yeah, it's just an add-on, and I think,
Looks like Wes is.
No, if they're,
that's an internal.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
so-
Oh, Wes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wes.
Yeah.
I just saw the
Sorry.
hand.
I know we were kind of in the weeds on that subject, but obviously I have a lot to say about it. And I love presenting on it, but I did want to say that we have a very detailed explanation in several emails as well as presentations that we have links to that we can provide to anyone who would like to view them. We actually presented at the March 3rd, 2021 meeting, and it was about an hour and a half long presentation on the very same subject. And there's really there are no new questions that are being asked here today. So I think if we could provide these resources, it would be probably helpful to the people asking the questions. So we have a video on March 3rd, 2021 that we can provide a link to. And we also have one on October 7th, 2020. It's another hour-long presentation that we did there. Both of those were pretty much workshops on this exact subject. And really, like I mentioned, there's no new questions that I heard tonight, except for in relation to the debt. And the $15 million that was referred to, those were previous expenditures that qualified for reimbursement from bond proceeds. And as you know, they were reviewed by legal counsel as well as bond counsel, and everything was legit. So that $15 million that sounded like a big accusation was all part of the plan and the documentation. So there's nothing new and nothing that's, justified here, I would say, I guess, as far as the accusations.
Thank you, Wes. And for our guest, Wes is the head of our finance department here at Vallecitos.
Yeah, and what I can do is when I coordinate with either Gail or Tracy, I can provide them with the dates and maybe links to the meetings that Wes just mentioned, and they can review them prior to us getting together.
Yeah, and if that information suffices and answers your questions, please let us know. But either way, I guess, but I want to get, hash this out in public and put it all out there and try, hopefully, I thought we did that in the previous meetings, but hopefully be able to answer this once and for all, because I do think there's a lot of misinformation out there in the public, and I want our customers to be, comfortable with us and happy, and if they have concerns, I want to talk about it.
And I think he made a good point that, like March, people were trapped in their houses,
Yeah.
and I don't even remember what I was doing then, except hibernating.
Yeah.
So, people are much more mobile, much more important, and I think it's really nice of you to take that time because, it is a big deal for us to know what's going on.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. That concludes our action items tonight, and we'll move on to our reports, and we'll go to 3.1, General Manager Report.
Yeah, thank you, President Sinella. Just a few here. First of all, I want to welcome everybody back to the boardroom. It's exciting. It's nice to have the board members, staff members, some limited staff members, and the public back here. Anybody know how many days it's been since we were last in this boardroom? Anybody have a guess?
500 or so?
595 days. So March 18th of 2020 was the last time we were in here, so it's been a long time. And two of our board members weren't even on the board at the time, the last time we had a board meeting here, so welcome back, everybody. Second item, we will have some district crews out working tonight. They're going to be along Bent Avenue between San Marcos Boulevard and Discovery. They're going to be doing some water shutdowns. It's part of the city's Creek District project, and they're going to be removing fire hydrants and connecting some water lines and things like that. Our crews will be out there at 10 o'clock shutting off valves, and then the city's contractor will be out there actually physically doing the work. Our hope is that by early morning, all that is done and water service is restored and traffic controls are out. Yes, Director Pennick.
So with that being the Creekside District you're talking about, with that being a city, are those private developers?
No, well, the city hired a contractor to build it. So the contractor is private, but it's a contract with the public entity.
Okay, so they're the one that are putting the bill, they're the one that are installing all the pipes.
Correct, they're doing all the connections.
That contractor that has been contracted by the city.
That's my understanding, yes. So again, hopefully all work will all be done by first thing tomorrow morning. And the last item, and I won't say much about it because I don't want to steal Director Elitharp's thunder about the water, something the Water Authority did recently. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Sinella.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Perone. Moving on to item 3.2, District Legal Counsel.
I just have two items this evening. One is an offer. We're about to engage on the redistricting process. It's been mentioned a couple of times. And, you only do it every 10 years. And it has been become increasingly complicated with the development of the new acts on the state level and how those integrate with the federal, state, and local standards. So we have a person in-house who was a former city clerk, and her specialty is elections and redistricting. She's helping folks all over California. If you're interested, I could have her appear next time either on an agenda item or as part of general counsel report, just to give you a broad overview of the policy questions that you're all going to be confronting when James brings forward the maps and what kind of things you can consider and can't consider just ahead of time, just kind of as a little introduction to that. So that's an offer. The second thing is next month is Aqua, which is the first week of December. It's November 30th through, I think, December 2nd. BBK is hosting a dinner on December 1st, which staff and the board is welcome to attend. Will be at Great Maple in Pasadena. So if any of you are attending, let me know, and I will get your names on the list so you can come for the evening and we can enjoy it. I got you, Jim. All right.
And if I can maybe just add on to that, we'll have to make a decision probably at our next board meeting whether we're going to conduct our meeting on December 1st. I think only one of our directors is going to be physically present at the Aqua Conference. So I think we can conduct the meeting here on December 1st. Normally in a heavy travel year, all the directors might be up at Aqua and would cancel the meeting. But I think we'll be able to conduct our meeting. But I'll reach out to each of you individually and find out your availability on December 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Okay, we're all excited now. Director Elitharp, what do you have from the San Diego County Water Authority?
I'm not, man.
Well, okay then. The Water Authority had its regular October board meeting and committee meetings on October 28th. Couple of highlights here. The board adopted resolution number 2021-24 to activate level 1 of the Water Authority's water shortage contingency plan. And much like our recent declaration, it calls for voluntary reductions by retail agencies with an emphasis on water use efficiency measures and enhanced communication and public outreach. The next item, I think, is the one that the general manager was referring to. Out of closed session, the board approved that the $35 million, $35,871,153 and change, that's $35 million, paid by the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California should be dispersed to Water Authority member agencies as shown on the included table as distribution number 2. And that figure is $1,248,828.17. Combining that with the previous payment that we got, the total is roughly $2.8 million. So we have some decisions to make on what to do with that reimbursement when we get it.
Well, that's good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll be placing an item on an upcoming agenda for the board to give me direction on what to do with that roughly $1.3 million.
Just a couple other things that happened at the board meeting. They authorized the general manager to execute 2 36-month contracts for Sacramento advocacy services, one with California Strategies in the amount of $742,500, and another one with Lang, Hansen, Giroux, and Kidani for the same amount over the same 3-year time period. And the board also adopted the 2021 energy management policy, which had 4 areas of focus, one being energy supplies, generation, and storage. Another is energy resilience. The third, collaborative relationships, and fourth, enhanced government relationships. And the final item of note, the board approved the appointment of Marty Miller, who's director on Vista Irrigation District, to replace Mike Hogan, who's a director on Santa Fe Irrigation District, as one of the four directors to the Metropolitan Water District Board of Directors. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Althart. Appreciate the good news. That takes us over to Encina, and the Policy and Finance Committee has not met for Encina since the last time we were together. The full board did meet, and Director Hernandez, do you have anything to report on Encina while I look up my notes?
No, Capital Committee won't meet until next week, so nothing to report there.
Okay. The full board meeting focused primarily on the item that I reported on at our last meeting from the Policy and Finance Committee meeting. And bear with me. So we focused a lot on awarding some contracts and also adding funding to some current contracts for the building's HVAC systems. During the presentation that EWA staff shared with us, they showed some pictures of their current HVAC systems that they have, and being part of it, the water that's used through the HVAC process, but also being right there on the ocean. There's a lot of corrosion, a lot of rust, definitely overdue. They got, I think what'd they say? Like in some cases, like 30 years or something on some of these. They definitely got a good return on their investment for their initial investment, but now it's time to repair and replace those. And that's,
They need air conditioning on the coast?
I think it's not for I mean, it may be for the offices, but I think it's also for the processes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Some of those some of those facilities are 40-plus years old.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing that the other item was that just like we had a conversation recently about either going back to live meetings or keeping them virtual, the EWA board at that particular meeting had decided to keep them virtual at this time. However, they're going to be evaluating and discussing that month to month. And so it could change, but for right now, they're going to continue to meet virtually.
I will report on the general manager recruitment.
Okay.
We had 25 applications. The consultant whittled that down to 14. I'm on the selection committee. We've whittled that down to 5. We'll be holding those interviews tomorrow and Friday to whittle that down to 2 or 3, which we will then bring to the full board for interviews to make a final selection.
How are you whittling? You're just looking at their
Well, just a big
background?
X.
That's what I was wondering.
You know,
Just background, are these all previous GMs?
Oh, my goodness, yes. The background, 6 pages long, some very qualified candidates, very diverse, very transparent, a lot of water people, a lot of wastewater people, mostly within our local area. So I think we've got a good selection to work with, and I think we'll be able to bring, as I say, 2 or 3 to the full board for a final decision.
Do you interview them, or is it just all on paper?
No, we're interviewing in person.
Okay, so these are all in
Tomorrow
person.
and Friday, and then
Okay.
we will do in person for the final selection.
That's
I mean, at least that's what I'll vote for,
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
in person.
And then once the committee further whittles it down with their interviews, then they're going to bring 2 or 3 of the finalists to the full board, and then there'll be more interviews.
Right.
Gotcha, okay. I was just concerned, just looking at resumes, but I
Just
didn't
that
realize
Scott
you're.
McClellan, the existing interim general manager, did make the cut to the 5. So he's one of the 5.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 3.5, Standing committees, the Finance Committee has not met since our last meeting, or even recently. So is there any other committee chair people that would like to, Director Boyd Hudson?
Thank you. We met just a couple of days ago, and we're not a whole lot new to report other than we are making very good progress on getting the intern in. They'll start in the spring. And we had some discussion around the scholarship for Vallecitos, and I think the direction was that staff is going to do a little bit more digging, come back with a list of questions that we need to form answers to and discuss that are sort of parameters around the scholarship. And then we'll bring it to the full board because we know Director Hernandez wants to participate as well and have some input. So we'll do a little bit of the preliminary legwork and then bring it forward and have a more robust discussion.
Great, thank you. Any other committees meet? I don't see any, so we'll keep moving. Directors' reports on meetings, conferences, or seminars attended. I don't have anything that I attended to report out on. Does anybody else?
Oh,
Director Boyd
I
Hudson?
have something today. It's not in any official capacity, but I was invited by the San Dieguito Interfaith Ministerial Association to speak about water and equity, and so I did that today. As it turns out, it's Interfaith Awareness Week. I didn't know that until I met with them today. A lot of really great questions, and I think I got people interested in looking at their own, because they're all over the county. People are now more interested in, who's serving on their water district and what their water district is doing, whether it's water or wastewater. So I think it was a very, it was kind of a basic presentation, but I think a lot of people learned a lot. So I was grateful to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Any other report outs? Okay. There's no other business for meetings, and so any other directors' comments, future agenda items? I have a comment question, but does anybody else?
Maybe just one comment, because being in, this is the first time in the boardroom, it's been great, and I'm sitting over here pretty quietly, but thank you. It seems like everything went off without a hitch, so
Yep.
a big thank you to Jonathan, and just,
Absolutely.
it's been smooth and easy. Hopefully it's been good for the public, all one of you, there were two of you. But again, just thank you to Jonathan. That's just one point of
Great.
comment.
Thank you. And the only comment, or it's more of a question, you showed that picture of the board that we took a couple weeks ago when we were together. Love the picture. I happen to think I look good in that picture, but I'm also I'm pretty casual in that picture. So I didn't think we were gonna do like an official board photo at that time. So are we gonna, and I also know our two newest colleagues don't have their portraits up in the lobby. What's the plan to get our colleagues their portraits, but also to get a formal board, full board photo?
So Chris is in the process of reaching out to the directors,
Friday.
two new directors,
Are
to
you
set up
Friday?
portraits
Thursday.
with.
I'm Thursday. Maybe
You're
you're
Thursday.
Friday.
Oh.
Okay, so
I'll
we're
switch with you
setting
because
up
I
the.
can't book a blowout. I can't get a blowout. I can't get in, to get my hair done.
What's a blowout?
You don't have to worry about
Oh,
that.
that's a blowout. I thought you were talking about a tire or something.
So I'll switch with you if you need to.
If you want, let me see.
Yes,
Tomorrow?
we're setting up the portraits to fill out the lobby, and then, I'm not sure which picture you're referring to. There was the one taken in front of the building, and there was the one taken at City Hall. Which one did you
No,
think you
well,
would
the City
particularly
Hall
get at?
one, definitely not. That's really casual because
Yeah.
we were purposely trying to be in a comfortable situation because we were meeting for long periods of time. The one that was in front of the water district, we typically have one, but we're wearing our coats and ties, and that one, we were a little bit, because we were gonna be going in outside with
Right.
the water tanks and stuff, I didn't put on a suit, and I just think if that's gonna be our official picture for our plans and our website, we should be.
Yeah, that wasn't the intent, that be the official
Okay.
one. Our intent was when we got back into in-person board meetings and the COVID situations were relaxed a little bit, we'd take a more formal picture,
Okay,
probably right before a board meeting where everyone's dressed, appropriately, and that would become the official picture for the
You just always have to dress to impress, you never know.
well, yeah, it's tough when you're walking, through dirts and weeds, and you don't wanna you wanna dress appropriately for that too. Did you have your hand up, Director Hernandez?
No.
Oh, okay. Then, any other comments, questions? Okay, then we are adjourned.